What's up, guys? It's your host here, Spartanic Arts DxD, back with another high school DxD related video. And today we have What If Issei Was Neglected and Became OP Part 7. Yes, this series is making a return, so if we could hit 500 to 600 likes, that would be absolutely amazing. And I am back. This is finals week, so upload zones are going to be real. Expect a bunch of uploads like December 12th after that because I got a whole bunch of things going on. I apologize. Exams, track. I got a track meet going on. I got to go to Michigan, things like that. You already know. So thank you so much for the support. It's been absolutely amazing as long as I've been absent. And once again, I'm glad you're enjoying like all the series that or the movies that I've been posting. Without further ado, let's go ahead and thank my balance breakers. Rob the King, Lachlan Yates, Atomic Warlord 58, Ant Lewis, Night Ammo, Refeek 135, Asimodus, Slow, Keep Saying 21, Louis Bermudez, $5 Sake, VR Wolf hashtag 2347, Night Ammo, Zeki 2000, Seth Voiles, the PS_gamer. XOR X108, Legendary Saiyan 98, Mazaku, Dr. _MG is the bomb, Group Fireshot Gamer, That Round Guy, Zero Fusion, Source Spawner, and Chaotic Raven. Thank you so much for becoming a balance breaker. Seriously, I can't thank you enough. And if you guys want to know exactly when I upload / my upload schedule, I know y'all in the premiere right now for today, and this is being recorded and uploaded today. I got a project due, but that can wait. Uploads are more important. So I'm also kind of sick right now. I'm not gonna lie. So without further ado, boys, ladies, and gentlemen, if you want to become a balance breaker or a limit breaker is only $2.99 a month, and you guys get to know exactly when I upload. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into part 7. If you guys want to follow along, we are in the middle of chapter 5. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rias. I have deceived and still deceiving many people in order for her to come and visit here. But maybe her wish was something that might change the existence of the Chaos Brigade itself. I determined that it was necessary to stop unnecessary blood from being shed. I will apologize to you guys again and will ask you guys again. I'm sorry and I ask you, can you listen to her story? Azazel asks about his head. This man who has high pride in doing this, it must have magnificent meaning behind this. Like I said, I trust you fully, Sensei, stated Issei with a small smirk in his direction. Other group members also looked at each other and put their weapons away. I'm always in the care of Sensei. I want to slash my sword at Orphis this instant, but I will endure it, said Zenobia as she folded her arms and closed her eyes. To allow Orphis in while not informing Michael-sama, personally, I don't know what I should do, but there is no other choice but to believe in Issei-kun Azazel-sensei. Irina also affirmed it. While having complicated feelings, from where she stands, she should be the one with the most difficulty since she is a representative of the Heavens side staff, but she still affirmed it. It's proof that she believes in Issei and Azazel. I just have to believe in Issei-san like I did from the start, stated Azia. I have the same thought as her as well, said Ravel, who is also fine with it. As long as Issei-sama didn't mind, neither did she. She trusted his judgment. Rias just sighed at the acquiesce to the meeting. Scene change. A strange mixture of members are currently gathered in the VIP room of the Hyoudou residence. The Gremory Praj, Irina, Ravel, Azazel, Lefay, Fafnir, Fenrir, Kuroka, and Orphis, who is in the center of the meeting. A gathering of those who would be normally something impossible. Here is your tea. Akino gave green tea to the volley team. Members of Orphis while being on alert. Lefay drinks tea, while Kuroka is eating snacks, which go well with the tea. Fenrir is sleeping near Lefay. It seems as though they don't have any feelings of being nervous. The rest of the members just sat around the room with awkward expressions on their face, feeling uncomfortable, silence as well as being in their presence, of being that could erase your existence with the blink of an eye. Issei looked over at Azazel, who was urging him to do or say something to Orphis, who was staring at him, unblinkingly. He just sighed again, something he's been doing a lot lately. So, Azazel, you have some business with me? Is there something I can help you with? Asked Issei politely. Even though she was the boss of the terrorists, she also ridiculously cute, so Issei couldn't help but smile at her. Dreg, do you want to quit being a heavenly dragon? Inquired the Ouroboros dragon, causing Issei to blink in confusion. I'm afraid I don't know what you mean. Could you please elaborate? Urged Issei. The human, who is the host, he's been having a different sense of growth up until now. I think this is very strange. Very different from the previous heavenly dragons. Volley is also the same. Strange. Very strange, stated Orphis blankly. The fight against KOKO, the fight against BL, Drake had different evolutions. Armor changed shape completely. It's the first time I know of, continued Orphis, with a tilt of her head that Issei thought that made her look adorable. That's why I want to ask, Drake, what will you become? Asked Orphis, with a cute twitch of her neck. Suddenly, both of Issei's arms are covered in red aura and his gauntlets appeared. For many, it was the first time seeing his subspecies sacred gear up close, and they were impressed by it. A voice boomed out of the gauntlets. I don't know, Orphis. I don't know what this guy wants to become. I don't know, but it's certain that he's having an interesting growth, answered Drake. Issei decided to sit this one out for the moment and let the two legendary dragons converse. Two heavenly dragons missed, as the infinite and great red as the dream. Into the chant, Drake, why did you think in becoming the king of domination? Questioned Orphis. It must be the result of seeking strength. Because of that, I was eliminated. I couldn't become strong besides increasing the power of domination. I never thought my armor could change so drastically, answered Drake. I don't understand domination. Those from the Chaos Brigade seek domination. I don't understand. Great Red isn't domination. I am also not domination, stated Orphis. There is no way for a being that has been strong from the beginning to understand the reasons for domination. You were born from nothingness, of infinite, and Great Red, who was born from illusions, from dream, must have been from a different dimension. Orphis, you appeared in the world. Getting out of the dimensional gap, what have you attained from this world, and why do you think of returning to your homeland? Inquired Drake. I also want to question Drake. Why do you try to become a different being? Will you discard domination? What is ahead after that? Orphis countered. Issei was highly amused at his partner's being questioned. He is definitely going to teach Drake about this later. Very interesting indeed. A conversation between a heavenly dragon and a dragon god is something you don't see often, stated Azazel, with his eyes sparkling excitedly. He seems like the kind of guy to like these things. Issei just looked at him with an amused glance. Drake, you will become the Shitri. Can you surpass a heavenly dragon by groping tits? Drake, will you become a dragon that represents tits? Questioned Orphis expressionless. Unfortunately, that was a critical hit for Drake. Drake, who heard that, starts hyperventilating. Even this guy ends up saying, my conscience got cut off. Counselor, someone call the counselor, cried Drake hysterically. It seemed to receive too much damage mentally from the Ouroboros dragon. Calm down, Drake. It's okay, just take it easy here, I'll help you out, said Issei as his hand began to glow in a faint green light. While he wasn't the best at healing magic, he did know a spell to use magic to reinforce positive emotions in someone and help them calm down. He learned the spell specifically for Drake. Yeah. Sorry, this spell sure works. Thanks, partner, said Drake, who calmed down sufficiently. Don't worry about it, Drake. I should be the one apologizing. You just take it easy for now. I'll take over from here, rest assured Issei. Drake really was becoming a sensitive dragon. I want to look. Drake. I want to look at the possessor even more, states Orphis blankly, even though she seems emotionless. Her eyes now have the color of interest, and it was directed straight at Issei, who just sweat dropped at having garnered the attention of the most powerful being in the world. Fuck you, Dragon Aura, cursed Issei, his head while maintaining an outwardly polite demeanor. So like that, can you leave her in this house for a few days? Just as you see, Orphis wants to look at you. I don't know what the reason is behind this, but it will be fine if it's just looking, right? Said the bastard governor cheerfully. Issei wanted to strangle him sometimes. Rias, on the other hand, didn't react favorably to this development. Hold on just a minute. Having us meet with her is one thing, but having her live here is crossing the line. I won't allow that, stated Rias before she got cut off halfway into her rant. Be silent, Rias, uttered Issei with a dangerous tone, unconsciously releasing his Hakushi Haki right at her, causing her to sniff with fear. Stiff with fear. The entire atmosphere of the room changed in an instant. Issei's power permeated the room, making everyone on high alert. They had never seen this side of him before, at least not directed at them. All in all, it was completely fucking terrifying. Rias was happy that he finally said her name, but the context was not something she could be glad about. The others, LaFay and now a serious Kuroka included, unconsciously took up battle stances. Regardless of how you feel, this is my parents' house, and therefore with them being away, it leaves me in charge of it. I will allow Orphis to stay, provided, of course, that she agrees to my condition. I don't care if she's the strongest being in the world. If she doesn't agree to what I have today, then she can leave right now, ordered Issei furiously. The others looked at him as though he had lost his mind, Azazel included, which is saying a lot. That guy's basically is the few fries short of a Happy Meal. While Ravel and LaFay just stared at him with admiration, Orphis just stared back impassively at Issei, who looked at her unflinchingly. The tension in the room made everyone feel as though the knife was pressed up against their throats. After a while, Orphis just nodded, showing that she will agree. Very well. You can stay here for as long as you want. As you started with the most serious face that anyone has ever seen him before, they all unconsciously gulped and leaned forward, wondering what he would ask. "Call me Oni-sama," finished Issei jubilantly, causing the occupant of the room to facepalm before looking at him incredulously. The sheer ridiculousness of the request made them wonder if Sauerorg punched him a few screws loose in his head. Issei, on the other hand, just looked satisfied and smiled on his face like everything was completely normal. Orphis just stared expressionlessly at him for about 5 minutes, making everyone wonder if she was going to vaporize him. They all took a step back. "Oni-sama," responded Orphis blankly with a cute tilt of her head. The jaws of the occupant hit the floor at seeing the oldest, most powerful being in the world call someone Oni-sama. The absurdity of it blew their minds. Issei had completely different reaction. "Oh my god," he squealed, picking up Orphis and nuzzling his chest together with a blissful expression on his face, while hers remained completely blank. He took a seat and pulled Orphis onto his lap, where she sat snugly before handing her a bar of chocolate that he unwrapped for her. "Here you go, Orphis-chan. I got you some delicious chocolate for you," stated Issei with a giddy smile. Orphis just stared at the offering before taking it in her hand and cutely nibbling on it. Making a non-nom sounds, Issei inwardly scolded how cute she looked, causing Drake to deadpan at how absurd his partner was. He went from a terrifying badass to a squealing siscon in 5 seconds flat. Issei thought that he didn't care as he petted Orphis on his head, causing her ears to twitch cutely, showing that she enjoyed the treatment. The others watched in disbelief at this development. Seeing the mighty infinite dragon god being treated like a house was too much for their minds to handle. Azazel, on the other hand, just laughed unpariously. In his mind, Issei could get the Ouroboros dragon to behave like a tamed house cat. Now that everything is sorted out, I'm assuming both LaFay and Kuroka are going to be staying up as well. I don't have a problem with that, but I would ask that you behave yourselves as there are exams coming as well as the promotional tests, so the residents of this house will be studying. I expect you to be smart enough to know to stay out of sight and not draw any attention to us, instructed Issei sternly. Understood. I will just relax. Orphis and Kuroka agreed to Issei's order. LaFay, on the other hand, walked towards Issei while pushing something out to him. He realized it was an autograph paper. She asked cutely while twitching her body. The battle against the Beal the other day, I was deeply moved. Please give me your signature if it isn't too much, requested LaFay with sparkly eyes as she gazed at Issei, who just smiled softly at her, remembering that she was a big fan of his. Issei just chuckled before taking the offered paper and decided to give her a really cool signature. He drew a few cool designs along with signing it on the number 1 fan and the cutest witch that she knew, which made LaFay smile blissfully as she hugged the autograph of her budding chest. The rest of the day went on as usual, with Issei doting on Orphis by giving her sweets and introducing her to games, while the others kept a healthy distance but also a warrior on the Ouroboros dragon in case she decides to do something. Scene change. The week passed by without much fuss. The residents of the Hyoudou household in their time studying for the upcoming exam, with Akano and Yuto, who have come over after school studying for the upcoming promotional test. Issei, on the other hand, took another week off of school after handing in an advanced assignment to show that he was caught up with work and was well advanced. The others were shocked by this, and they knew Issei wasn't the brightest bulb in the box, but after his training, his tutors drilled in their knowledge of maths, science, and the world in general into his head to make sure he knew what he needed to know. And while Issei was a shameless pervert, he wasn't an idiot, just unmotivated. He spent the rest of his week playing with Orphis, LaFay, and Kuroka. From splashing about in the underworld pool, in the underground pool, playing video games, and watching movies introducing Orphis to the wonderful world. of Pokemon, which she became quite interested in if she constantly played with the Nintendo 3DS was anything to go by. He thought it was adorable when she tried to catch a Pokemon but failed, only to watch Hyoudou while she was still being expressionless. It was amusing to see her expressing some emotions, no matter how minuscule. He also discovered that she had quite the sweet tooth. From chocolates, donuts, cookies, cakes, and other assorted sweets, she munched them with fervor. Issei didn't mind buying her as much as she wanted, as he had enough money to spare anyway. There were a few occasions where he would disappear from time to time, confusing the rest, as he never offered an explanation to his whereabouts. This was one of those times that he went missing. Scene change. Issei, using a transportation circle spell, vanished before reappearing in a moderately lavish 3-story home in the middle of nowhere. It was one of those homes of the previous boosted gear possessors that was heavily reinforced and hidden away by magic. It was heavily guarded by barriers and spells, making it almost inaccessible, unless ones knew the password. Issei, after spending so much time with his senpais, discovered, like most dragons, they were hoarders. From weapons to treasures to land, they collected them and hid them away from the world. It was why his current bank account were so massive and why he could afford to pay the entire Opie Dragon fan area in the last raiding game. As soon as he fully materialized in the house, he was immediately greeted by the only guest, the only who previously tried to assassinate him, Hildridge. She was dressed in her usual costume as she bowed down lowly upon him to his arrival. "Welcome back, master," was her simple greeting. Issei just sweat dropped. Her attitude did a complete 180 concerning him. She went from a hostile to completely subversive. To be honest, it really freaked him out. But he could tell she wasn't a bad person, so he never made an issue with her. As long as she was happy and had freedom to choose, something that was denied her entire life, he was content. He told her during their fight that she should find the master worthy of her to serve. She took this to heart, and what Issei realized yet is that he was the master she chose. His words and actions struck him like a deep chord within her. It made her feel for the first time in her life. Emotions were something that were beaten out of her as a young age, as she taught that a servant had no need for them. So when the kindness and compassion of the Red Dragon Emperor brought about these long-buried emotions within her, she needed to know more. She held no loyalty to her former masters as they were weak scum as far as she was concerned. Issei, on the other hand, was someone who followed his own beliefs. He never picked on the weak or innocent. He displayed kindness, even though his enemies, overwhelming power to crush those who stood in his way. His actions and words during the raiding game, as well as last week that she spent getting to know him, reinforced her opinion that this man was the one she was waiting for. Hilda, I told you that you don't have to refer to me in that way. You're a guest here, so just call me Issei, he said exasperately. It was the point that was argued a lot between them and Hilda refusing to budge. Suddenly Hilda got to her knees and prostrated herself at his feet, shocking Issei a deeply submissive gesture. I, Hildridge, hereby pledge my loyalty and devotion to serving your cause. I will be your shield and your sword at those who wish to harm you. Please accept this oath of mine and allow me to dutifully serve you as my master," mentioned Hilda, with a passion Issei hadn't seen from her before. He was shocked to the core that strong-willed and sharp-tongued Hildred would submit to him in such a manner. He needed some answers. "Hilda, why?" he asked carefully. Hilda just tilted her head up, while still remaining in her submissive position. She had a rare smile on her face. Issei thought she looked memorizing. The beauty of a woman, truly happy and at peace with herself, is not one to be underestimated. "You told me to set myself free from the shackles that bound me and find someone worthy of my loyalty and devotion. I made my mind up a week ago. Spending time with you, it only showed me that you were the right person in my decision. You are the one I choose, as there can be no other that I will obey but you. You opened my eyes, my flaws, my self-imprisonment, so I expect you to take responsibility," replied Hilda with a beautiful smile. Issei, on the other hand, just face-panned. He really needed to watch what he says. He never knew it would come back to bite him in the ass. You sly minx, well played, very well. I, Issei Hyoudou, accept this pledge. Serve my loyalty from the day forth, Hildred, and I promise to never abuse the trust and faith you have put in me, stated Issei with a kind smile. Hilda, on the other hand, just had tears in her eyes at finally having a purpose in life, a person she can dedicate herself to. There was no greater happiness to her. Yes, master, she replied shakily. Issei just smiled as he helped her off the floor to the couch as he unpacked the groceries, clothes, and other necessities that were needed for her everyday living. He spoke to her of the happenings in the past week, his promotional exam to Orpheus. Needless to say, she was shocked till a feeling of pride swelled in her chest at the thought of her master taming the infinite dragon god. They carried on chatting away through the night, telling each other their life stories, building a deeper bond in each other that will shake the world in the years to come. And that is the end of Chapter 5. Chapter 6, Expect the Unexpected, Part 2. It was now Saturday and finally time for the mid-class promotional exam for Issei, Kiba, and Akano. All the members have gathered at Transport Magic Circle located in the basement of the Hyoudou residence, including the Gremory Barrage, Ravel, Irina, Azazel, Lefay, Fenrir, Kuroka, and of course the newly dubbed by Issei Infinite Emoto Dragon, Orpheus, who was currently sitting on his lap, much to the jealousy of Konako, munching quietly on the scrumptious chocolate chip cookies that Ravel baked this morning. Issei noticed the glaring absence of his Hikikomori cross-dressing vampire, Koai Gasper. "Where is Gasper?" questioned Issei. Strangely enough, it was Azazel who had answered him. Gasper actually came to me and asked for my help in getting his sacred gear under control. So I sent him off to the Gregor, where they can hopefully help him out, he replied. Issei was impressed at the determination of Gasper, as well as a little concern for him. It was no secret that those working at the Gregor were complete nutjobs, as evidenced by their leader, who is a poster child of everything wrong with society today. Issei just prayed, come to think of it, he wasn't sure who to pray for, as he reincarnated devil as he pray to God. Plus, the guy is dead, so it's kind of pointless. As a devil, he would probably pray to him to the Mao, but that guy was a worthless deadbeat. Seeing as though he was mostly dragon, he should pray to the dragon god, which after a few seconds he realized was sitting right on his lap, making him chuckle and pet Orpheus on the head, which she greatly enjoyed. Not that you would be able to tell with how expressionless she normally is, but almost after a week of spending time with her, Issei was able to pick up subtle nuisances of the Ouroboros dragon. The paperwork was taken care of for the Magic Circle to transport them directly to the stadium due to the delays they may encounter with regular route from the Gremory residence. When taking into account the popularity of members of the group, especially Issei after his defeat of Sire Orgbiel and his endorsement by working class devils. With that in mind, it was decided to keep the group entering the test area a small one, with participants of Kiba, Akano, and Issei along with his manager Ravel. Orpheus-chan, I'm going to head to my exam now. Unfortunately, I can't take you with me. You will have to go ahead to the hotel with Azazel, Lefay, and Kuroka will be with you, and I will join you as soon as I'm done. So be a good girl, okay? Said Issei gently to Orpheus, who just stared at him blankly. He stared unflinchingly into her eyes, looking expectant. After a few minutes, she slowly nodded her head and replied, "Okay, Onisama." Issei, who heard the reply, broke out into a happy smile and patted her head gently. He then handed her a bag of candy and tied her over while he was done with his exam. Azazel, who was watching the scene, was highly amused. Apparently the plan is to take Orpheus to Sir Zex after the exam is done and attempt to open up negotiations. Also disclosed to Issei that Volley was actually wanted to hide Orpheus from the perceived threat on her life. Normally, Issei would scoff at the Ouroboros dragon being in danger, but his rival was taking this threat seriously. For Issei, that was enough to sit up and take notice. Volley made a big deal out of nothing. Issei, Akano, and Kiba and Ravel stepped into the magic circle. After the well wishes and good lucks, they disappeared into the red light. Scene change. When the light receded, the gang of four found themselves being greeted by a very official-looking devils. After getting their official introductions, they were led to the testing center. On the way there, Ravel gave Issei points about the center, which was located in the Glacial Labors territory, the original family of the current Mao's Asamotus. She also explained that due to the political backlash of facing the House of Ashtaroth due to their actions of their heir, Didoria, or Dilto Ra Astamouth, it was decided to this testing center instead of the one usually used in the Ashtaroth territory. Issei just smiled, gently patted Ravel on the head, and expressed how impressed he was and how diligent she was that she knew the role as a manager, which of course the poor girl started splurting with a tomato red face, making Issei laugh. Much to her mortification, she wanted to remind whether Issei-sama picked up on sadistic tendencies for him to tease her in such a way. Then I will pardon myself. I hope you do well. The staff left after saying that. I will go bring the documents you must fill. After saying that, Ravel goes away quickly. Wow, that girl really is thoughtful. Looks like there aren't many people making the test, thought Issei aloud. Yeah, in the underworld, there aren't that many devils which can take the promotion test. The promotion tests, essentially for high-class devils, might even be less devil-taking, Kiba answers. Like that, since there isn't a war in the underworld right now, you can only get a promotional by attaining something magnificent, with a pact for devil's jobs, or by raiding games. Though the first option is very hard to get a promotion with, so it became mainstream to get promotion by test by raiding game. Issei, there's one thing I want to tell you before the test. Kiba stood before Issei, and he had a serious expression on his face. What is it? I'm glad I met you. Here, Issei was wondering what he was about to say. That's fucking disgusting. You really have a natural saying. You really have to become a natural at saying creepy things. When Issei said it with a disgusted face, Kiba laughed. Thankfully, Ravel returned and needed documents. They were got to filling them out. That guy seriously needs to find himself a girl for himself. If not, my chastity might be in danger, thought Issei, with his face turning a sickly shade of green at the notion. Luckily, they were able to get their document in order and submitted. All that was left to do was to take the actual test. Kiba, Akano, and Issei wished each other good luck, with Ravel wishing them the same before the former two taking off, leaving the other two behind. Issei-sama? Inquired Ravel quizzically, with a cute tilt of her head. Issei just wanted to pet her so desperately, but tinged his urges, and he sat, getting a teasy glint in his eyes as he looked fornally at Ravel. Here I am about to take one of the most important tests of my life, and my manager just gives me a plain good luck and nothing else. I feel so underappreciated, Issei said with a depressed tone that matched his expression along with his slumped shoulders. Ravel, on the other hand, started having a panic attack at how her actions may have hurt her most precious person. She started splurting and gesturing wildly in an attempt to reassure him. No, Issei, at this point, Issei felt a little sorry for the girl, but not enough to stop his teasing. She just looked adorable. Yep. He's definitely a sadist. He decided to pile on the guilt trip. To think, if I failed today, it would set me back greatly, meaning a step further away from being a high-class devil, meaning no evil pieces and no barrage in the future. Maybe I should just go home now, finished Issei with a ridiculous over-the-top acting. Unfortunately for Ravel, she couldn't detect because of the massive damage Issei caused her with his previous statement. It was no secret that she longed to be his future barrage. In fact, the only person who was oblivious to it was Issei, the key word being was. After all the time he spent reflecting, he was able to realize what all of Ravel's actions meant, as well as the conversations of her mother had with him that fateful day that changed everything. He was greatly flattered that Ravel held him in such high regard, and decided that he would definitely put her fears to the rest and tell her that he would accept her into his future barrage, but having a little fun with her before that was done was something he couldn't resist. Issei turned to look at Ravel to see her frozen in place before a look of horror came upon her face at the implied consequences. Issei decided that, as fun as it was to tease her, he should wrap this up and get going. I'm just kidding. After all the work my beautiful manager put, how could I possibly show my face again if I fail? Said Issei with a wink in her direction, causing her to pout cutely to show her displeasure at being teased, despite having a blush on her face from the compliment. Issei is a meanie, she said. Issei loudly, which made Issei laugh hilariously. Well, I better get going. Though I wouldn't mind a good luck kiss from my manager, prompted Issei as he turned her cheek in her direction. At this point, Issei could almost see the steam coming off her and how red her face was getting. Nevertheless, she screwed up the courage and put her soft lips on him. She closed her eyes and leaned into Becca's cheek. Unfortunately, or fortunately for her, Issei once again got a glint in his eye that she missed as she closed hers. As she got closer, At the last minute, Issei turned his head so the cheek and the lips landed squarely against his. She froze in shock at the contact before feeling a bliss overtook her at the sensations of her first kiss. It was made even better knowing that it was the one she loved above all others. It only lasted a few seconds before Issei pulled back and looked at her shocked face with a gentle smile. Thanks for the good luck charm, Ravel. I feel like I can take on the world right now. I would expect nothing less from my future push-up, said Issei with a wink in her direction before he took off. Ravel was numb with shock, not having her first kiss stolen, but also at the implications made her by Issei-sama. It made her seem her hard work is finally paying off. She brought her hand up to her lips and could feel the lingering sensations of the kiss. She suddenly broke out into a giddy smile and squealed loudly in happiness, totally unbefitting of her stature as a noble daughter from the House of Phoenix. But she didn't care. Issei, who heard the squeal, just chuckled to himself. Scene change. After the written and the practical tests were done, which Issei breezed through thanks to all the work he's done in a few months, the gang made their way back to Ravel. As soon as her eyes met Issei, she blushed prettily, and a beautiful look on her face, and she avoided his gaze. Issei just chuckled at her adorable behavior. They made their way to the special transport zone before a magic circle to joined the rest of the gang at the hotel. They were greeted warmly by their friends with all the wishes and pats on their back. As Issei took a seat next to Azazel, he looked over to the corner at the restaurant, spotted Kuroka, Lefay, and Orphis eating sweets. He didn't see Fenrir, but knew he was shuckling around somewhere, probably with a close eye on Lefay. He wasn't too worried about them being spotted, as with Kuroka's talent in Senjutsu and Yojutsu, coupled with Lefay's skill in magic arts, made sure that they could fly under the radar. He waved happily to the girls and waved back at excluding Orphis, who just stared blankly at him before nodding. Issei shook his head at her expected reaction. Even her massive stare was adorable. I shall look at Oni-sama, she said, while severing her face with pasta. Issei smiled wearily at the scene. So, good job on your test. Cheers, cheered Azazel. After taking a gulp of his drink, Issei just sweat dropped at his irresponsible governor drinking in the middle of the day. Issei felt a little depressed at knowing this was the best role model he had in his life. Times were dark indeed. Getting rid of those depressing thoughts, Issei proceeded to dig into the gorgeous buffet set before him. As he continued eating, he kept his ears open and sensation sharp to our area around them. Some might call him paranoid, but with the luck he's had since entering the supernatural world, he preferred to think of it as being sufficiently prepared. He picked up one conversation between Azazel and Azia, who questioned the governor about the possible balance breaker, as well as Zenobia and Irina talking about possible sword techniques. He also kept his eye of the corner of the room towards their special guest. It happened about 15 minutes later, while he was polishing off his dessert, that his instincts flared and his hockey picked up. He immediately shot up and looked at the wall on the right, tensing his body for the combat. He caught the attention of everyone else in the group, including the ones at the corner of the restaurant, who all stood up and congregated around him. Issei, what is it? Questioned Azazel worriedly. He could see the stony conduence that Issei's face knew something was wrong. We have company, and it's not friendly, stated Issei, before a familiar sensation overtook his body. He remembered it well from Kyoto. It was the feeling of being transported to an artificial dimension by dimension lost, sacred year meaning Gork. It also meant that the hero faction was here. Kuroka, who was regaining her bearings, looked at Issei in shock. She was a Nekushoto, and a pretty high level one at that. Her senses and abilities were pretty much top notch, to the point that she can detect and mask herself from almost any enemy. Some gods included. The fact that Issei sensed Gorg before she even had an inkling of it was a scary thought for the Nekomata. She thought back to last week that they spent at his house. While he had fun and played with them, going along with her whims, she can't help but wonder if she was just an arrogant little butterfly caught in a spider's web without even realizing it. The thought chilled her to the bone. It finally began to dawn on her that despite how goofy and perverted he can be, Issei is the Red Dragon Emperor. She's been taking that for granted till now, but this was a wake-up call to how dangerous he truly was underneath the silly little perverted syscon exterior he put up when they were around. It was even more getting when she remembered that she was in charge of concealing their group, meaning that he could find them whenever he wanted. She could put those thoughts out of her mind for now, as she needed to focus on the matter at hand. Looks like Volley was ignored by Naya. Looks like they ended up coming here, said Kuroka. Azazel nodded while Issei just looked focused. Everyone in the group put up their battle positions as a familiar mist surrounded them. They quickly made their way out of the room, following Issei, who seemed where the culprits were. The group noticed that the once lively hotel was now devoid of life. They suddenly entered a spacious lobby, where a fireball headed straight in their direction. Following the trajectory, it was headed straight to Azia and Irina. And that is where we're going to stop for now. Yeah, so as I said, get cliffhangered. That's amazing. This part was really entertaining for me to read. I'm glad you all could stick around until the end. Thank you so much for the support, as I have been gone for probably a solid 2.5 weeks, and I do apologize for that, but there has been reasons for it, as I was basically fighting a losing battle, and I finally grew enough balls to let it go. So, thank you so much for the support that's been going on. Once again, thank you to all my balance breakers. And my limit breakers, of course. And eventually, there will be another tier called Juggernaut Drive. I'm just kidding. I don't know if there's really going to be a tier like that. I really want to add a Potential Unleashed, which would be really cool. But thank you so much for the support once again. I cannot thank you enough. Remember to go subscribe to my second channel, Ampopowski and Fallen DxD, down in the description below. Once again, thank you so much for all the support. There will be more things coming. If you guys want a different series, leave in the comment section down below what you want me to read, some good stories, some good options, and I'll make sure to try to get those in a reading or whatnot. But I've been really busy, and I got exams this week, so don't expect too many uploads. Right after my track meet that's going to terrorize my life, I will pick it back up, and it's time to roll it in, if you know what I mean, because it's time to have some fun with the squad of YouTube, you know what I mean, as soon as I get back to December, because I'm going to need some recovery, you know what I mean. So thank you once again. I know I just thanked you like 3 times for the support that's been going on this channel, but also Ampopowski's about to hit 40,000 subscribers, which is my other channel, which originally is my main channel, funny enough, but this became my main channel, and now this is my second channel, and that's my main channel again. And I'm going to hit 50K on there before this one, which is really cool to think about, like just hitting 50K on a channel in general. And I do plan to be uploading shorts on this channel as well, but it'll be a little different. It'll be like me explaining the boosted gear, or explaining the Longinus users, or explaining how Divine Dividing works, and things like that, because that would just be fun for me to do. And without further ado, Spartanic Arts DxD out.